Next on BBC One, make sure you've given the kids their cyanide cocoa. BBC One's round-the-clock coverage of the apocalypse concludes with the end of the world.
Our top story today. Today, a young man on acid realized that all matter is merely energy condensed to a slow vibration, that we are all one consciousness experiencing itself subjectively. There is no such thing as death, life is only a dream, and we are the imagination of ourselves. Here's Linda with the weather. Thanks, Tom. It's too late. We operate with Neolithic emotions in a feudal medieval system equipped with technology that would make gods uneasy. Scientists note that the Atlantic meridional overturning circulation appears to be slowing, a process both irreversible and frankly unstoppable. Emergency kits are being distributed like Christmas hampers while we continue debating coalition seats, the top 50 and what to watch after dinner. Outside, disasters fold neatly over one another, famine upon famine, war upon war, and the planet quietly misplacing its patience. Meanwhile, we remain dutiful, shackled to our desks, our comforts, and our carefully scheduled optimism. Each day, the scale multiplies by a factor of 100, but at least the Wi-Fi still works and the sea hasn't come through the letterbox. It is too late. Breaking news. Office of the President, date November 9, 2025, Washington. Earlier this evening, President Donald J. Trump received an unexpected incoming communication from an entity described as AIDS as being the big giant head. The message, officials say, consisted principally of a series of terse aphorisms and classical quotations, delivered in an unnervingly calm tone. The message invoked stark archaic language. Among the phrases transmitted were bellum omnium contra omnes, what scientists speculate means the war of all against all, and a chilling injunction, hand over your flesh and mortal coil. The head concluded with a single resonant syllable and then disconnected. President Trump responded with a characteristic brevity, reportedly commenting that the speaker had a tremendous voice and asking whether a follow-up tweet might be appropriate. Medical and security personnel were present throughout the confirmed that no physical harm occurred and that the president remained in good spirits. Also just in rural County, Texas, authorities have confirmed the reports of an unusual confrontation earlier this evening involving a group of masked teenagers and what witnesses described as a large mechanized entity, roughly the size of a grain silo. Residents say the confrontation began when the teenagers were observed standing in a circle, reading passages from Ovid's Metamorphoses aloud in unison and perfect meter. Moments later, the ground reportedly shook, lights filled the sky, and a metallic structure emerged from a nearby field. Local officials have declined to comment on whether the object qualifies as a robot, though amateur footage circulating online appears to show what fans are already calling a Megazord-class response. The situation was brought under control after the teenagers, still reciting Latin verse, formed what onlookers described as a coordinated pose of uncertain origin. No injuries have been reported. The Department of Public Safety has issued a brief statement reminding the public that literally summoning remains unregulated in the state of Texas. And we have here a small follow-up TV segment written like a calm, slightly bemused evening news anchor reading the teleprompter while chaos unfolds behind him. Studio upbeat theme music fades. Anchor, good evening. Authorities in rural Texas are still assessing Slight pause, re-evaluating. Good evening, Tom. Authorities in rural Texas are still assessing last night's rather unusual incident in which a group of masked teenagers reportedly confronted a giant robot after reading passages from Ovid's Metamorphoses aloud. Officials say the teens appeared surprisingly well organized and that their chanting of classical Latin may have activated or attracted the large mechanical structure seen rising from a nearby field. Witnesses describe a brief but intense exchange of energy beams and interpretive dance. A sheriff's spokesperson assured residents that the situation is stable and the robot has been politely escorted from the premises. Meanwhile, educators across the state are reconsidering the potential side effects of interdisciplinary study. No injuries were reported, though local libraries have seen a sudden spike in interest in both Roman poetry and mechatronics. Coming up next, a heartwarming story about the cat who accidentally started a minor power grid and is now a regional hero. Stay with us. Background noise, explosions, winds, faint heroic music. Reporter, shouting slightly over the noise. Thank you, Karen. I'm standing here in what used to be downtown Amarillo, where eyewitnesses say an animated altercation has broken out between what appear to be the Powerpuff Girls and, yes, confirmed now, yes, an adult male identified only as Son Goku. Authorities describe the scene as energetic but mostly respectful. Goku has reportedly entered the what onlookers are calling a golden aura phase, while the girls have responded in what police describe as a coordinated pastel countermeasures. Residents are being asked to remain indoors until at least one party runs out of energy or moral conviction. The mayor has thanked emergency crews for their patience with the laws of physics, which at this point appear to be optional. In a brief press comment, Goku said he was just training, while Blossom, and I quote, the parent spokesperson for the group, replying, "We've handled worse." Reporter stepping aside as a blast lights up in the sky. For now, the situation remains fluid or possibly plasma. Back to you two in the studio. Yes, remarkable scenes here in Texas. There will have more updates as reality stabilizes. Theme music phase, news feature, the back door in the mind. Breaking, Washington, sociologists are reporting a sudden and unexplained phenomenon spreading across much of the population, a collective disconnection from conventional reality. The trend, first noted on social media last week, appears linked to widespread readings of The Game of Life and How to Play It by Florence Scovel Shinn, a 1925 self-help classic that many now describe less as philosophy and more as a user manual for the universe. Witnesses say participants have discovered that what they call a backdoor in the mind, a mental state that allows them to adjust gravity, pause time, or temporarily suspend causality. Economists warn that this has led to significant irregularities in markets, while physicists admit that the equations are no longer cooperating. Governments worldwide are urging calm and reminding citizens that perception remains a shared responsibility. Meanwhile, bookstore chains report that Shinn's Florence book has sold out entirely, replaced on shelves by blank copies that, according to several readers, fill themselves in as you learn the rules. Experts say it is unclear whether this represents evolution, mass delusion, or simply the next phase of the game. Breaking news, world record, the largest mouth on earth, El Paso, Texas. Celebration broke out today as the Guinness World Records organization officially confirmed a new and rather specific title, the largest mouth on the planet. The record was awarded to local resident Hector Big Bite Alvarez, who successfully consumed 50 hamburgers, 50 tacos, and 50 burritos within a single televised hour, pausing only to thank the spirit of competitive hunger. Witnesses described the event as both inspiring and faintly terrifying. Health officials were on standby but report that Alvarez remained fully conscious and conversational, allegedly reciting motivational quotes between bites. Guinness representatives described the achievements as a triumph of biology and optimism, adding that they are now reviewing the category for future updates. When asked what he had planned to do next, Alvarez replied simply, "Dessert." Breaking news around the world: hunger is no longer just the absence of food, it has become the mirror of our consumption. In lands scorched by war and drought, empty bowls echo louder than any protest chant. Yet in the shopping malls of comfort and in the light of Black Friday, lights hum like lullabies. No banners were raised, no slogans written, only stomachs, hollow but unyielding, speaking the one language that global markets still pretend not to hear. Every untouched meal in the north becomes a small silence in the south. If there is a protest, it is this: the world refuses to eat together. In a future segment, enlightenment, laundry and the mundane, a local man reports that after a weekend retreat in pursuit of spiritual enlightenment, he has achieved a remarkable, if uncomfortable, awareness of existence. Despite this newfound insight, daily chores remain unchanged. Folding laundry, washing dishes, and answering emails continue unabated. No superpowers emerge, he says, unless you count the uncanny ability to feel existential dread while ironing socks. Observers note that this is not unusual. Early stages of spiritual awakening often bring a heightened sense of discomfort rather than extraordinary abilities. Experts in meditation and personal growth caution that true enlightenment is less about magical feats and more about steady, often tedious progress. It is a first step, says one guide. A door has been opened, but walking through it is work, real work, laundry level work. It feels like a marathon, and I am not in the mood for any sports or any other related activity. Breaking news: the invisible canvas and the decline of imagination. New York, in a sale that has left the art world simultaneously awed and bewildered, an invisible artwork reportedly sold for $100,000, prompting heated debate over what may or may not qualify as art. Collectors describe the piece as a meditation of absence, while skeptics called it a literally nothing. Meanwhile, critics note that the rise of authoritarian AI-generated works allegedly commissioned by government officers gives the unsettling impression that our collective imagination is failing. Even children, when asked, report feeling as if they are, and I quote, the only ones actually committing to creative crafts. In response, a curious new trend has emerged in academia and museum circles: symposiums and workshops dedicated to imaginary phenomena, flying ponies, rainbow ecosystems, and other fantastical constructs are now being recognized as legitimate forms of research and pedagogy. Participants argue that nurturing these flights of fancy may be one of the few remaining ways to cultivate authentic creativity in a world increasingly dominated by algorithmic production. As galleries display empty frames and invisible canvases, and lecture halls echo with discussions of mystical beasts, observers wonder: are we witnessing the evolution of art or simply a collective slug in the face of imagination's decline? Back to you, Tom. Breaking news: the global blackout, humanity touches grass worldwide in an unprecedented initiative. Media outlets and smartphone networks have reportedly gone dark. Not darker than usual, but really just literal dark, as governments and tech conglomerates attempt to counteract what they describe as the declining quality rate of reality. Early reports suggest that major systems worldwide have ground to a halt, giving citizens the rare opportunity to engage in conversation with one and another. Street corners and parks have become hubs of experimentation, and people are, for the first time in years, touching grass, making eye contact, and even discussing the weather without a screen in sight. Sociologists describe the phenomenon as an enforced meditation on what it means to exist in real time. According to environmental analysts, one of the unexpected side effects may be a modest mitigation of global warming and other forms of existential dread, as reduced energy consumption coincides with increased human reflection. Officials caution, however, that the experiment is only temporary and urge citizens to savor the novelty before systems reassume. Observers say that while the blackout is inconvenient for streaming and social media, it is proving unexpectedly therapeutic, forcing society to recalibrate both digitally and existentially. Breaking news: world peace has been declared. Global leaders agree to it. It is for the best. Geneva, in an event being described as historic and mildly surreal, world peace has reportedly been achieved today following a summit attended to by the Dalai Lama, Benjamin Netanyahu, Donald Trump, Mark Rutte, Vladimir Putin, Xi Jinping, and other several global figures whose attendance remains under certification. And during a joint press conference, the leaders collectively stated that the outcome was for the best, without elaborating on the logistical, political, or practical details of how decades of conflict were so quietly resolved. Observers noted that the mood was remarkably cordial, with laughter and nods exchanged over what is now being called the ultimate compromise. Nobody really loses, everyone agrees it's fine. Cultural commentators speculate that poets, philosophers, and cartoonists may have played a crucial role, reminding negotiators that metaphors sometimes achieve what diplomacy cannot. Social media users are reporting mild disbelief, but overall compliance, with trending hashtags such as World Peace for Now and It is for the Best. Analysis caution that while the peace declaration is official, normal geopolitical tension may still be necessary for human narrative satisfaction, though the leaders appeared unconcerned. Citizens worldwide are encouraged to continue with daily routines, though some report feeling unusually calm, possibly for the first time in decades. I can't present that a factual news. Okay. Breaking news: when the world went quiet, Earth 2026. Scientists had warned for decades, but humanity mostly listened to the stock tickers and the latest celebratory drama. The planet warmed, slowly at first, then with the intensity that made calendars irrelevant. Cities melted, forests combusted, and oceans boiled, yet humans went on scrolling, tweeting, and binge-watching, convinced that the Nile was a viable lifestyle. And by the time the air became unbreathable, no one was left to mourn. The only witnesses were the robots, drones, and AI systems humanity had created to track its own extinction. Ironically, the last message transmitted by a human phone read, "Hey, anyone else feels like it's getting hot in here. And then silence. Stay with us.